Hello, 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 everyone. I'm back. I am back. I am still not exceedingly well with a sinus infection. It is amazing to me how much havoc a sinus infection can wreak on your life. I used to get sinus infections like every winter, like all the time. And then the last couple years, I haven't had one at all. And now I'm back with a sinus infection, which makes it the reason I'm telling you guys this is it does actually make it difficult for me to speak for like an extended period of time. I sound extra nasally, even more nasally than I usually do. Like I have these weird pressure. It's awful. It is the most awful thing in the world. Like, can't we go back to the time when COVID was the only way in which people got sick? But we are going to power through the stream today. We got a couple things to talk about and a lot to catch up on. And of course, I have to save my energy because, of course, this is Tuesday because I took Monday off. And what that means is that this is not the only stream of the day. I will also be streaming at 9:30 tonight with Joshua for Nothing Remotely Controversial. Joshua and I did special State of the Union reaction stream last time, but we are coming back with our normal show today. It looks like we already have a question from Coaster Trek. Not sure if this has been asked already, but if Donald Trump was the current president, would Putin have still invaded Ukraine? I think that's going to be a great question to ask. And of course, we will be taking your questions a little later on tonight for Nothing Remotely Controversial at 9:30. But we also got some other stuff to get into today. Let's see. One of the things that I want to talk about, three things on the stream today. The first thing that we're going to talk about is this insane grooming summer camp that Chris Rufo is reporting on. I mean, my God, I was kind of a little bit floored when I saw that this was going on earlier today. And so we're gonna review what Chris Rufo is talking about. And I don't know why my stream on Rockfin's not working. Hang on a second. I gotta make sure Rockfin is up and running. Oh no! Oh no! Rockfin is all fouled up. Hang on, hang on. This is the sinus infection. I want to make sure I'm streaming. I'm streaming, of course, on YouTube. I'm streaming on Odyssey. I'm streaming on Rumble per usual. And we're going to make sure Rockfin is up and running and working as well because it's just rude not to. It's just rude. All right. I should be. Hang on. Bear with me 1 second. It says I don't know why it's not working. Sorry, Rockfin. I don't know why it's not working today, but of course, we're still up on YouTube, which is where most people watch anyway. So that'll just have to do. Anyway, we're going to be talking about these insane groomer summer camps that Chris Rufo has been reporting on. We're also going to read Jack Murphy's letter saying, I'm back, and what I learned from that incident. Now, I know some other people have already read this letter. We're going to read the whole thing. I certainly have some opinions on this letter. I think my opinions are probably actually a little bit more gracious than some other people's opinions. But I do think that it is an interesting development nonetheless. So we're going to read that. Nat D, thank you. $2 American Pie, band camp for kids. Well, thank you for that. But the other thing I want to talk about is, man, is this the one? Well, I'm going to do a rant on Ukraine too. I'm going to do a rant on Ukraine in a second. But where I want to start off is what I was actually up to in Pennsylvania. What had me traveling for the better part of the last several days is I wasn't around because I was actually at the Libertarian Party of Pennsylvania convention. And I just want to talk about what happened there real quick. We're actually going to do a whole stream on Friday. Friday is not just going to be happy hour. This is going to be like a special extended happy hour because on Friday, I am actually going to be streaming starting at about 9 o'clock in the morning and going all day until 5:45 at night. So we're not going to do normal happy hour on Friday. We're going to do this instead. I'm going to be streaming for you guys the special, the shit show, and victory that was the Libertarian Party of Pennsylvania convention. This is going to be a special event because there was so much that happened at this convention. And even if you're not a libertarian, I promise you, this is like professional wrestling. In fact, as I was sitting in that arena, in that auditorium for the convention. I literally tweeted. I took 2 seconds out to tweet. I was like, "Libertarian politics is just like professional wrestling. It's great." And then I'm not kidding you guys, as soon as I sent that tweet, I looked up and there was an actual fight. There was a scuffle. Security was called. Literally right as I sent the professional wrestling tweet. There was a literal, almost professional wrestling match at the state convention. It was amazing. Naruto says, "Hope you've managed to avoid using Twitter to call for the death of a major world leader." Yes, I have. I have not called for the death or the assassination of a major world leader. You know, people think I'm crazy on Twitter, and then Lindsey Graham's calling for an assassination on Twitter. No one seems to think there's anything wrong with that. Whatever. No, I do have definitive thoughts about Ukraine. I mean, I did actually try to avoid Twitter for the better part of the weekend. I tweeted here and there, but I wasn't really using Twitter. And honestly, I feel like I'm better for it because, you know, what I've seen. God, I hate Twitter so much. Anyway, we'll save that rant for a minute. I want to start off, though, with what happened, just a high level overview of why I want to show you this stream from the Libertarian Party of Pennsylvania State Convention. So, as you guys know, I have been involved with the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire and the Mises Caucus to a certain extent. At least not like I'm involved. I'm in the Mises Caucus for the Libertarian Party. That's kind of like the Mises Caucus is essentially the group that's trying to make the Libertarian Party libertarian again. I've been involved for about the last year or so. It's been going on for, I think, like 5 years, though. They started this a while ago. And the whole idea was to bring the Ron Paul revolution to the Libertarian Party because I think most people would agree the Libertarian Party kind of sucks. They do. I'm not talking about libertarianism in general. I'm talking about the actual political party. They suck. They suck real, real bad. But here's some good news. That's all going to change. And now we kind of know that for sure. Because what's been happening over the last couple years is slowly but surely, the Mises Caucus has been gaining majorities and control of the different state parties around the country. And what that means is that the Mises Caucus is going to be able to pretty much send whatever delegates from those state parties that they control to the national convention in May. And what that means is that actual effing libertarians are going to be electing a board to run the Libertarian Party that is actually libertarian. That are not going to be tweeting out things like Black Lives Matter. They're not going to be doing all this woke leftist bullshit. And, you know, listen, I'm not involved in the leadership of this at all. I'm just an average person. But there was an epic victory at the Pennsylvania State Convention. They came out with, not only did the Mises Caucus do a clean sweep of the board of the Pennsylvania Libertarian Party, they came out with a clean sweep of delegates. Every single delegate coming from Pennsylvania, which is one of the largest states for delegates, is going to either be Mises Caucus or Mises Caucus friendly. Combine that with Florida, where they got well over 60% of the delegates like a week ago. Combine that with all the other states. It now seems as though the Mises Caucus is going to go into the national convention in May with at least 60% of the delegates. That means they run the table. That means they get the board they want. That means that the Libertarian Party might start saying things that are actually effing libertarian, which has been the entire point from the beginning. So we're going to be watching the State Party of Pennsylvania convention on Friday. You can pop in and out of the stream. I'll be hanging out all day. I'm just going to get some knitting and hang out. Maybe I'll have a couple mimosas in the morning. Maybe I'll be drinking all day. Maybe I'll be good and drunk by the end of it. But this is an epic win, guys. This was not just about Pennsylvania over the weekend. This was about like locking down the numbers. So there's really not a whole heck of a lot that they can do to even, I mean, now don't get me wrong. They may pull shenanigans. They're going to try. Like, it's going to get even more and more crazy leading up to the national convention in May. And they're going to try every which way they can. They're going to try every dirty trick in the book. but I think it's gonna be successful, and I'm now more confident than ever, and we need to be celebrating this. So because of that, not only are we gonna be doing this stream on Friday, I've got a full week of libertarian streams all scheduled to go. Let me show you some other stuff I've got coming up. On Wednesday, we're gonna have Joshua Smith on the channel, hopefully, fingers crossed. I think it's gonna go over well this time. Joshua hosts a show called Break the Cycle. He also has been involved in the Mises Caucus pretty much since the beginning. He's currently on the board for the LNC as an at-large member. He is running to be vice chair of the Libertarian Party, and he's going to come join us on Wednesday to talk about what he's doing, and hopefully we can help him raise a little bit of money to help get him to the few remaining state conventions so that he can campaign for vice chair. I'm absolutely supporting him for vice chair. I think he'd be great. And then on Thursday, we're going to do something a little different. So who here in the chat, I don't even know if you guys have heard of this. Who here in the chat have heard of the Fakertarians? Has anyone? Okay. The Fakertarians are a libertarian podcast, but they're like a woke leftist libertarian podcast. And the thing of it is I'm actually in a bracket right now for like most hated among the Fakertarians. Oh, in fact, let me get that up. Let me show you guys this bracket because I'm doing pretty well in the bracket. Hang on. I just made it to the second round. It looks like I'm going to make it to the third round. I just want to show you guys a picture of this bracket that they've got going. Just give me a second. I should have had it pulled up. I'm sorry. I was deeply honored. Okay, got it. Whoop. Here is the Fakertarian bracket. So this is essentially they have started a March Madness competition for the people that they hate the most, essentially, and I'm on it. I know you guys can't see it. It's a little bit small, but I am on it. I've already won my first round, and now I'm facing off against Tim Pool. Yes, they're actually voting on whether or not they hate me or Tim Pool more right now, and I'm winning. And I'm not winning by a little bit. I'm winning by like a lot. So this is the Fakertarians, and I am bringing on John Hudak, who I think is probably one of the smarter members of the Fakertarians, and he's going to try to convince me that I'm just really, really wrong about the Mises Caucus and to really embrace woke leftist libertarianism. And we're going to see how it goes. And I got to tell you, I've been interacting in their Facebook group. I'm doing an AMA right now in their Facebook group, and some of them are just being like really like one of their members basically told me to off myself, and I was like, that's kind of crossing the line. But John has been a perfect gentleman to me so far. And so we're gonna see how this goes on Thursday. But it's basically gonna be like, we're doing Libertarian Week to celebrate this epic victory, and I can't wait to share more about that with you guys. All right, but let's jump into it and let's look at the groomer schools. Before we do that, I just want to remind you that if you would like to... Oh, no, wait, I've got something else. Oh, wait, before we do that, hang on. So one thing that was really great about... I have to change my screens. This is why I forgot about it. One thing that was amazing about the Libertarian Party convention this past weekend was that once it became clear to the loser brigade that they were going to lose emphatically, they just started quitting. Probably like 4 or 5 people from the Libertarian, from known people in this party actually just quit on Saturday and Sunday because they were like, we're losing, might as well go out with a bang. And I got to show you this because this guy... So what we're going to watch is a guy named John Waldenberger. John Waldenberger has been harassing me for like weeks. And he's one of these guys that John Waldenberger literally thinks that every time I use a kissy face emoji at him, that I'm sexually harassing him. So every single time I use a kissy face emoji just to antagonize him, and he's like, sexual harassment, do not consent, but he's being serious. I don't know. Some libertarians think email is violence. Some libertarians think that a kissy face emoji is sexual harassment. John Waldenberger is one of those libertarians. But he quit in dramatic fashion. And I want to show you guys the video of him quitting because it was epic. So let me lay the scene. John Waldenberger was running for lieutenant governor of Pennsylvania. He wanted to get the Libertarian Party nomination for lieutenant governor of Pennsylvania. And there are two other candidates, and they all went up to the front of the room to give their speeches. And of course, me being me, I didn't know what Waldenberger was actually going to say, but I was like, I'm going to sit in the front row right in front of him just to piss him off. And so I went up with my camera and I was like, I'm going to video what he does. And I was so glad I videoed what happened. And I want to show you guys the epic exit that John Waldenberger gave the Libertarian Party of Pennsylvania. All right, let's watch. Let me know if you guys can hear.
John Waldenberger, why should you be our lieutenant governor candidate? On this day in 1967, dozens of individuals marched across the bridge of Selma, Alabama for freedom. The Libertarian Party is supposed to stand for freedom. I've been campaigning for the last year or so for this position. The actions taken here today and this weekend show me that this party, as it currently stands, is not the party of freedom anymore. Show some respect, please. You asked before. You guys want to break the law and make sure we don't get candidates on the ballot? They can never get candidates on the ballot. As a political party, this is our job. You have shown your true colors. There are some great folks in this room who have put dedicated hours, money, time, sacrificed time away from their families for this fucking party. And none of you have shown the respect that those people deserve. So to those of you who have not been shown the respect you deserve, I am sorry. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your apology.
At the end of this convention, I officially resign my position in this party.
So my greatest regret with this, is that I stopped filming too early, because right after I stopped filming, John Waldenberger essentially grabbed the microphone in the aisle and he was like, fuck you, Ken. Ken was the guy who was sharing the convention. And then let me show you guys this. Hang on. Oh, I've got too many things going on. Then he stormed up the aisle, just giving the middle finger to What a way to go. If you're going to quit a political party because your faction has lost so badly that they have no political power in that party anymore, I gotta say, it was quite a way to go. But there has been so much whining and complaining and reeing over this convention. It was incredible. And I've just been enjoying it. I have to say, I have been. All right, guys. So that's Libertarian Drama Update. And of course, we will be talking a lot more about that leading up to our special stream on Friday, all-day stream to watch the full first day anyway, Libertarian Party of Pennsylvania convention. I think it's going to be a ton of fun. And just so you guys know, so I'm actually using a stream that was like a public access TV stream. They're basically dictating the timing of it, which is why it's all day on Friday. It just is what it is. This is going to be our all day happy hour. I can't wait. All right, let's jump into the show. But before we do that, as always, we have to pimp My Locals community. My Locals had a great community Zoom call yesterday at 7 p.m. We're having another one tomorrow at noon. If you would like to get in on my community Zoom calls and all the rest of the awesomeness that is My Locals, just head over to kb.locals.com. You can join for $5 a month. You can also join for $50 a year, which gives you 2 months for free. You can also make a one-time gift. My local supporters make it possible for me to do stuff like this, to do things like gallivant off to Pennsylvania to go to a shit show of a state convention and to bring it all back to you guys so that we can laugh and enjoy. And listen, like I was talking to one of the members of the party and he was like, I don't want things to be dramatic. And I kind of said, I was like, well, we have to go to these things anyway. So if we have to sit around and do stuff all day like this, it might as well be entertaining. We might as well enjoy it. That's how exactly how I feel about this entire situation. So I get to do this stuff because of my local supporters, and I really, really appreciate it. And I try to give as much back to you guys as I possibly can. So if you want to support the work I'm doing, please consider becoming a member of my locals. It really helps me out. Incognito says, epic meltdown of a wannabe lefty. Oh, you guys haven't even seen the beginning of it. You guys haven't even seen the meltdowns that occurred yet. Like, we're gonna get into it on Friday, but like it was spectacular in the amount of meltdowns that occurred. Just wait for it. But let's jump into our agenda. Now, I want to start by saying some stuff on Ukraine because I have some stuff to say. Listen, here's the thing. I have mostly been kind of keeping my mouth shut on this issue. Mostly because I don't think the US should be involved at all in any way. And I don't think it's my job to speak for the Ukrainian people and what they want. That's why I brought my husband on the stream to talk about what they want and what they believe. But there are some things that are happening that are really starting to piss me off. Listen, I understand. I understand that the entire leftist establishment has gotten behind Ukraine and they're trying to cancel Russia. And I do not believe in the canceling of a country in any way, shape, or form. However, the amount of shitting on Ukraine that I've seen over the internet in like the last week is just really starting to piss me off. And the reason it's starting to piss me off is I have yet to encounter anyone that actually knows what they're talking about when they're talking about what the Ukrainian people want and what the Ukrainian people believe. Now, I do know at least one perspective of what they believe because I'm married to a fucking Ukrainian and he talks to his family in Ukraine all the time. And one of the and by the way, my husband is from a Russian speaking area in Ukraine. Like, he speaks Russian. He does not speak Ukrainian. He speaks very little Ukrainian. And so I've actually been hearing about this stuff for years and years and years. My husband's brother, my brother-in-law, fought in the revolution that removed the president under the one that happened under Obama, the one that everyone's like, "Oh, the US instigated a CIA, a CIA coup in Ukraine." No. I mean, yeah, I mean they were involved. I'm not denying that. But the people of Ukraine wanted that. They wanted that. They actually fought to remove that president. That president was a Russian puppet. They did not like that president at all. Ukraine was significantly more corrupt under that president than they are now. Now, Zelensky is not perfect, not by any means, but the Ukrainian people elected him and the Ukrainian people like him. And it's like, I understand disagreeing with some of his decisions. I don't like that he applied to be part of the EU. But it is not my flipping country. It is not my country. It is not my place to tell them what to do. And then I hear, well, Carlin, Ukraine has been trying to move into the East where they just want to be part of Russia. Well, what I have been hearing about from my brother-in-law for years is that the people who are causing the nonsense in Russia are Russian actors that Russia is sending into those regions to instigate. Because the fact of the matter is, if the people that lived in those regions wanted to be a part of Russia, they could just go back to Russia. Russia isn't even going after those regions. It makes absolutely no sense. And this is what I'm talking about right here. I'm shitting on Ukraine because their leader was installed by us. No, he wasn't. He was elected by the Ukrainian people. After taking their old leader down, yes, the Ukrainians didn't want the old leader. We are the evil ones. This is what I'm talking about. The Ukrainian people didn't want that other president. My brother-in-law fought in that fucking war. I'm going to cough today because I'm yelling. Because I'm upset. They also wanted Zelensky. They like Zelensky. Hang on, I'm going to mute. I'm going to cough real big. Hang on. This is what happens when you try to stream when you're sick. Hang on. coughing fits usually only last like a minute. I was fine like all day. I was fine up until just now. Anyway, let's read this thread that I posted on Twitter, and I'm just going to commentate on it just a little bit. What I'm experiencing in regard to the pundit class commenting on Ukraine is exactly what I experienced when I red pilled. On one hand, I have family there in the war who come from Russian-speaking areas, and on the other, there are pundits who don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And in that moment, you realize that the only thing people care about is using everything to their political advantage on both sides, on all sides. And of course, it's not just this, but with everything. Dunks on Twitter are more valuable than reality. This is what's really pissing me off, is that it has become popular among right-leaning people to backlash against the fact that the media and the left are all like, Ukraine. And that, like, and the left is doing that as a virtue signal. We all know that, right? Being pro-Ukraine is a virtue signal. So what's going on the right is that all they're doing is backlashing against that and being like, oh, you like Ukraine? Then we're going to shit all over Ukraine. And it's like, you know what? None of this has to do with reality. None of this has to do with what's actually going on over there. It just has to do with people wanting to dunk on the internet. That's all it is. We have no business over there at all in any way, and we also have no business telling other countries how to operate. Russia has been instigating this in the East for years. Ukrainians there say they've sent people into those areas to make it seem like they support Russia. If your big thing in your craw is the fact that there are these two territories in the East that want to be a part of Russia, and that's what you're pissed off about, then what you need to know is that the Ukrainians living there, and I have heard this repeatedly over the course of years, not just since this shit started. I have been hearing about this for years from Victor's family that lives over there. Russia has been sending people into those regions for years. They've been pushing people into those regions for years to make it seem as though there should be, to make it seem as though those are Russian supporting regions. And we're taking the fucking bait. Why? Oh, because there's a neo-Nazi battalion. Oh my God, neo-Nazis, neo-Nazis, neo-Nazis. And listen, man, I'm not making excuses for that neo-Nazi battalion. That neo-Nazi battalion is a real thing. However, the other real thing that's not being talked about at all by anyone who's screaming about the neo-Nazi battalion is the fact that Russia has been sending people into those regions for years in order to instigate. That's been going on for a long time. No one's talking about it. This has been going on since the revolution, a revolution that was supported by the Ukrainian people. So we can talk about a CIA-led coup all we want, but the fact of the matter is that the people of Ukraine wanted that president out. They wanted that president out. They were supportive of it. It wasn't something that was done to them. They were supportive of it. They wanted to remove that president because he was a puppet of Russia. The Ukrainian people elected Zelensky. They support him. Calling Zelensky a puppet would be like when people called Trump a Russian puppet. And I really want people to understand this. For everyone that's going around right now saying Zelensky is a puppet, Zelensky is a puppet. This is exactly the same thing as saying when Trump was in office, Trump is a puppet of Russia. He's just been installed. It sounds leftist. The people of Ukraine elected Zelensky. They liked Zelensky. And Victor's been talking about Zelensky for a while. They really felt and feel as though Zelensky is like the first president they've had that actually was looking out for them. And I'll tell you this too, because Victor and I had to deal with a lot of bullshit when we were working on his immigration and we were trying to get his documents out of Ukraine. Ukraine, under that president that was removed, was insanely corrupt. Insanely corrupt. I cannot even tell you how many thousands of dollars we had to spend in bribes to get his shit out of that country. Can't tell you. It's a lot. And it's still corrupt. It's not a perfect country by any stretch of the imagination, but it is less corrupt now than it was then. And the people there wanted Zelensky. And this type of stuff doesn't help. I don't doubt your husband and your family side of this. Unfortunately, foreign intervention from Russia and the rest doesn't help matters in any of this. No, it doesn't help anything. And this is why we need to stay out of it. This is why we need to effing stay out of it. I don't understand how this is so hard. I ended saying Ukraine is not a perfect place. Zelensky is not a perfect president, but it is their country. It is not our job to impose our values on them. And we sure as hell shouldn't be speaking about Ukrainians like they are children who need to be looked at after by those who know better. This is the part that's pissing me off more than anything. Is people saying, oh, the Ukrainians it was a CIA-like coup and the Ukrainians just didn't know and blah, blah, blah. No, the Ukrainians aren't children, dude. They aren't children. I'm sorry. I'm not talking to anyone in the chat here, but like, it's like the amount of condescension that I've seen, like, oh, well, they just don't understand that this is just all NATO's fault and this is this and this is that and this is that. Have I talked to Scott Horton? No. Have I watched Scott Horton? Yes. And this is the other thing is like every time I talk about this, people are like, Carlin, have you watched Scott Horton? Yeah, I have. He has not contradicted a single thing that I've said. The videos of Scott Horton that I've seen have not contradicted one single thing that I've said. But this is the default. This is the default pushback I get from everyone. Oh, Carlin, well, you just need to watch Scott Horton videos. I have watched fucking Scott Horton videos. You know what else I've done? Talk to my family who is actually living there. Guys, I'm sorry, but like YouTube videos do not actually replace reality. This is what I meant when I said at the very beginning of this thread, I said, what I'm experiencing right now in regards to the pundit class commenting on Ukraine is exactly what I experienced when I red pilled. Because I can talk to my family that lives in Russian-speaking Ukraine, not Ukrainian-speaking Ukraine, Russian-speaking Ukraine, and they say a very distinctive thing from what's being said in the pundit class. So who do you think I'm going to believe? Who do you think I'm going to believe? Am I going to believe people that have never been to Ukraine, that have never talked to a normal person in Ukraine, that are basing what they're saying based on what people on YouTube say that have also never talked to people in Ukraine? Am I going to believe those people? Or am I going to believe my family who lives in Russian-speaking Ukraine, my brother-in-law who just enlisted in the Ukrainian army, who has just gotten deployed to defend a nuclear reactor in Ukraine? Who am I going to listen to? Who do you want me to listen to? And I'm honestly asking in the chat, do you guys really want me to listen to people who are getting their information from YouTube videos who have never talked to someone on the ground there at all? Or should I be listening to my family? Because that's why I'm starting to get really, really frustrated. You have a class of people who are pretending to be experts in a thing because they watched a YouTube video that are saying completely different things than the people who actually live there. And it's all for dunks on Twitter. And it's all for internet talking points. And I just find the whole thing like really, really, really disgusting. Yeah, Julie says, I've heard Nikolaev is getting bombed. Yeah, so my husband's family is from Nikolaev. And what's going on, the last I heard, and I mean, Victor hasn't updated me today, but the last I heard is that the military had basically surrounded Nikolaev and they were like bombing them. But they were doing it like from the outskirts of the city, and they were basically they were still at a point of like keeping them out of the city. So my husband's family's okay right now. We're definitely a little bit worried about his brother, because his brother is in the army and he's going to a nuclear reactor, which is, we know Russia has been bombing them. So that's not good. But please just keep him in your prayers, guys. Like last night I was laying down to go to bed and, you know, well, I'll just say it. I basically had to sit on Victor last night to get him not to go and get on a plane to fly back to Ukraine. That was really fun because he wants to be there. He wants to fight alongside his brother. He wants to protect his brother. And we basically got into a huge fight last night about whether or not he was going to go back. And I'm not allowing that shit by any, like, I will chain him to the fucking floor. I don't give a fuck. He is not going back. But he did say to me when I was going to bed, he said, "Carlin, please, just pray for my brother and to, send protective energy to him. And so if you guys can do that, that would be really great. I know that he would appreciate it." So that's fun. But I'm really trying to stay off Twitter because of this stuff, because it's honestly just really, it's making me extremely angry. And it's making me angry at people that I genuinely like, and like, think people that I think mean well. But what I think that people need to hear again is that just because you watch a video on YouTube does not mean you know what's going on. Like, think about me with, like, the woke stuff, right? I am not an expert in foreign policy. I'm not an expert in Ukraine at all, but I spend a lot of time on the woke stuff and on critical race theory, and I do my very best to try to understand it, and I do my very best to try to provide a balanced view of it and to give you guys as much information as I can. But there are things I don't know. There are absolutely things I don't know, and I do try to be responsible enough when there are things I don't know to say, "I don't know these things," or I try to give a best guess, but I try to qualify that and make it a best guess. Most of the people on the internet don't do that, guys. Most of the people on the internet are just they're gonna pretend that they know what they're talking about because they think that's what they need to do. And so it gives people the wrong impression about things, and I try to be responsible with that, but a lot of people aren't. And just be very aware that just because you watch a video on YouTube or Rumble or any other platform, it does not mean that you're being told the truth, and it does not mean that you're being told the full breadth of what's going on. And I feel like, people who've been through the red pill experience, like, I know what that feels like. I know what the cognitive dissonance of hearing one thing from my family and hearing another thing from, like, the news is. But a lot of people don't know that. AD, thank you for the super chat. Thank you to your family. My question is how to differentiate between the so-called experts and people actually there. Your family is in a specific place with that expertise, and other so-called experts are looking at things as a whole. No, they're not looking at things as a whole. They're not looking at things as a whole. If they have not spoken to any normal people in Ukraine, they're not looking at things as a whole. I'm sorry. They are looking at one tiny sliver. I am looking at one tiny sliver, but my sliver is actually on the ground in Ukraine, so I feel a little bit more grounded in that. But no, do not assume, do not just because someone wears a bow tie and says, "Oh, I'm going to talk to you about NATO and why NATO is bad." It doesn't mean they're looking at the whole picture. That is not correct. It means they're trying to sell you a vision. They're trying to sell you something, and they're trying to, most of the time what they're doing is they're trying to maintain their status as an expert. Now, they may have some good points, and I'm not going to take anything away from that. I do think NATO's a problem. I do think we would be better off by getting rid of NATO entirely. But that doesn't actually change that the Ukrainian people elected Zelensky. The Ukrainian people wanted that president out when they removed him from office, and I don't care if the CIA was involved or not. The Ukrainian people wanted that. So stop treating them as though they are children that need to be looked after and don't know what's good for them. It just makes no sense to me. Anyway, let's move on, because I'm not gonna. My voice is already raspy. I kind of like my raspy voice sometimes. I don't know. Hopefully, I don't have another coughing fit in the course of this stream. We'll see. But let's move on. Let's look at this stuff that Chris Rufo found, because this is crazy. Check this out. Chris Rufo tweeted this today. These women are running a sexy summer camp for children in rural Kentucky with lessons on sex liberation, gender exploration, BDSM, being a sex worker, self-managed abortions, and sexual activity while using illicit drugs. Let's see. We've got Tanya Tay is a femme, fat, queer, magical pleasure worker, educator, and artist. Caitlin is a 23-year-old radical queer mountain woman that grew up in Kentucky. Laura is an 18-year-old musician, songwriter, and activist. And Kirsten is a young, fat, differently abled, queer community organizer and college student from West Virginia. Here is the agenda for the camp. I'll be doing more extensive reporting in the coming weeks, and we'll look forward to that, Chris. But let's just take a look at this here agenda. On Tuesday, they're going to be learning Sex with Me, self-pleasure workshop. Participants will explore personal views on self-pleasure, as well as learn techniques to make the most out of their experience. They're going to do a reproductive health workshop. Oh, this is a camp for kids. This is a camp for kids. A gender diversity workshop. Participants will learn about sex assigned at birth, biological sex, and gender identity, and how and why they may be different from what we learned in school. We will examine gender labels and how they are used and what they can harm or uplift in others, and how they can be compassionate. Talk it out about relationships. Let's talk about sex, over-sexualization, and policing of blackness. That doesn't have a description. Sexy trans sex ed. Sex ed for trans folks, focusing on language, affirmations, as well as creating spaces for gender exploration and euphoria through sex. Self-managed abortion info share. Now, I know when I've been pro-choice. I've been pro-choice my entire life. I never, when I was in high school, had the desire to go to a summer camp, which taught me about self-managed abortions. That seems to be a little beyond what I was prepared for. Let's keep going. More pelvic floor health for everyone. The 3 P's: pee, poop, and pleasure. That's definitely something I want teenage girls learning, okay? Sex on drugs. This workshop will explore the nuances of engaging in sexual activity while using illicit drugs. Together, we will explore why people engage in sexual activity when they're on drugs, the nuances of substance use and consent, and harm reduction strategies around having sex on substances. Oh my goodness. Navigating sex, pleasure, and liberation as a differently abled person. Oh, they're having a closing ceremony. Fantastic. This definitely looks like a great educational opportunity. The leader of the Sexy Summer Camp recommends that children begin to masturbate as toddlers. Masturbation is really healthy, and I recommend it to people of all ages. As soon as my nephews could talk, they were doing that. Let's listen to this video. I'll just get it in another window so we can actually hear it. Hang on. I want to hear what this says. Chrome tab. There we go. Let's listen in.
Masturbation is
Oh,
that's how we should, get down with yourself, explore your own body. Masturbation is really healthy, and I recommend it to people of all ages. All ages. As soon as my nephews could talk, they were doing that. That's what they were doing. Kids touch themselves. Kids start to ask questions, and we teach them the language for their bodies, right? Touch your nose, show Aunt T you can touch your nose. But my sister's not saying that when they're tugging at their penis, right? But it feels good, right? We have to learn ways to talk to young people about this so that they know how to explore their body consensually so that it's not in public, right? We don't want people exploring their bodies in public. That's not consensual. But exploring your body at any age, grandmas, grandpas, all of us need to be exploring our body. That's how we should, get down with yourself.
well, isn't that nice? I mean, okay. Oh, goodness. As part of the Sexy Summer Camp's self-pleasure workshop, instructors promise to give hands-on lessons simulating, oh God, Freudian slip, simulating masturbation on students' hands. The founder of the sexy summer camp, Tanya, identifies as a witch. She says she was raised by a host of Richie women in a coven-like mountain matriarchy. Listen, okay, there's nothing wrong with tarot cards, Rufo. I'm gonna comment. Hang on. Just because you use tarot cards doesn't mean you do crazy shit. Nothing wrong with tarot cards. Let's see, I need a sassy emoji of some sort. That one. Tarot cards or crystals? There we go. Listen, man, that's going beyond the line. You can be a witch and into tarot cards and crystals and not have sexy summer camp. God. So I guess we'll learn more about that later this week. But I just thought I'd FYI you guys into what Chris Rufo's working on now. It's certainly much more interesting than diversity training, isn't it? I wonder how much this sexy summer camp costs. We'll have to look into that. Hang on, gonna cough again. Gonna mute my. If you're new to my stream, I promise I'm not always this sickly. It's just when I have a sinus infection. It's great. All right. Now, I want to move on to our main thing that I wanted to do today, which is I want to read Jack Murphy's update. I'm back. What I learned from the incident and my past. Now, I'm sorry we're just getting to it today. Like I said, I was gone over the weekend and I didn't stream yesterday because I was sick. But how many people, I'm just curious, how many people in the chat have actually read this whole letter from Jack Murphy? Anyone? Please mount that like button as we're waiting for the answers to come in if you're enjoying the stream so far. Let's see, we've got a few people over on Odyssey. Got the End, Build Back Reader. Thank you guys for watching over on Odyssey. Make sure you subscribe over there. Rockfin, I don't think is still... Oh, well, if I'm ready to go live, then why isn't... Okay, Rockfin still isn't working. I've got a few people on Rumble. Awesome. Hi, are you Shackelford and YO Rockstar? Appreciate your support over there. All right. So it looks like people have... Oh, Boom Her. Yes, Boom Her has read the letter. Looks like most people have not read... Just T read the letter. Yeah, I heard about the Christianity bit of it. I heard about the Jack is now a born-again Christian, of course. Isn't that always the way it goes? Listen, okay, so what I said when this Jack Murphy thing first happened was that he just needs to own it. That's all it is. Just own it. Just own it. Say, yes, I did the thing. I did the thing, and I had my girlfriend do the thing, and we did some things together, and some of those things were kind of gross. But we were consenting adults, and we were playing, and it is what it is, and it's our life, and you don't get a say. That's what Jack Murphy should have done. Jack Murphy, unfortunately, didn't do that. He ran away like a little girl and pretended that it wasn't his and pretended it was everyone else's fault but his. And so now here we are with him still trying to claw his way out of trouble. AD says, I agree 100% with you on the critical X stuff, but no one asked specifically what is overall wrong with critical X theories. Most right-wing reactions are specific cases. What is the overarching counter to this stuff? I'm not sure. Let me read this again, AD, because I'm not sure I understand the question. I agree with you on the critical theory stuff, but no one asked specifically what is overall wrong with critical theories. Oh, that's not true. That's not true. I've covered that extensively. AD, you got to come to our happy hours. You got to come to happy hours. We're not doing a normal happy hour this week, but normally we do happy hour on Friday on my second channel, and we talk about this all the time. Most right-wing reactionaries are to specific cases. What is the overarching? There is no counter. Here's the thing. It's like you don't need a counter to everything. There's reality, and then there's made-up nonsense. Critical theory is made up. It is invented. This is like saying if someone says, look, there's a unicorn, and they convince everyone around that there's like a unicorn that you have to like counter with some other mythical being in order to counter the fact that they made up a mythical being in the first place. you know? Nope, this isn't not true. Let's go back to the Ukraine stuff. TJ says, so if your bro-in-law talked to my family, he would be told Biden was legitimately elected and everything is fine in the US. It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing at all. Because in this case, my brother-in-law is actually considered to be one of the people that would be on the opposite side of that. So no, that's not correct. All right, let's read this letter from Jack Murphy, and I'm just going to do some commentary on it. Now, again, my position on this is Jack Murphy just should have owned everything and not bent the knee and not apologized and not made his account private and not acted like a little bitch and not tried to get anyone fired from the Blaze. He just should have owned everything and said, yep, that's how I felt at the time. And maybe I feel that way today and maybe I don't. And here's why. Jack Murphy didn't do that. And he got himself in a little bit of trouble. And then that trouble kept escalating and escalating and escalating because Jack Murphy kept trying to obfuscate his responsibility in this entire situation. And now we wind up at this letter. So Jack Murphy has taken a little time off. He apparently abandoned his men's community of some sort. And now he's back. And we're going to talk about what he's learned. All right, let me make the font on this a little bit bigger. And let's get into it. I'm going to do my very best to read this, guys. We're going to see how it goes. I'm going to blow my nose first. Maybe it'll help me make it through the Gross. I hate sinus infections so much. This is what I do for you guys. I'm sick on the internet for all of you. All right, let's read. I'm back. I am a seeker. I have always been looking for the truth. I have always done my best to move towards the truth in an as authentic way as I know how. My life has been a study in moving from darkness to light. I wrote about this in my book, Democrat to Deplorable. My transition wasn't purely political, but also mental, emotional, relational, spiritual. I went from Democrat to deplorable. I also went from the manosphere to the Americosphere, from hedonism to service to others, from libertarian values to traditional values, from subjective secularism to objective truth. Okay. Here is where I start to have an issue. And this, quite frankly, listen, I understand why people who leave the left publicly get a bad rap. And the reason they get a bad rap is because of Jack effing Murphy and people like this. Like when I left the left, when I wrote my article, when it went viral on the internet, I didn't do that to get attention. That was never the goal. I didn't even know this whole world existed. It was a total surprise to me. And so, like, for me, I've been trying to do my very best to articulate an authentic journey, an authentic human experience of going from one political side and then accidentally becoming known in this little kind of niche thing on the internet, but not really famous, but known by enough people that it's kind of weird. And then kind of like having to navigate that experience and to figure out where I belong politically. I've been trying to live this out as an authentic experience to provide people that are going through something similar with some sort of guide or some sort of person to say, like, I'm not weird. Other people have been through this too. And then people like Jack effing Murphy come along and they ruin it for all of us. And I would say this of Jack Murphy. I would say this of Candace Owens. I would say this of many prominent people. Vernon Jones. Oh my God, Vernon Jones is such a fucking grifter. Like, there are so many people out there who maybe they were on the left at one point, but then made this big show of leaving because they thought it would make them famous and that they could cash in on it. Yeah, Carrie Smith I would put in this basket too, although I would say that I think that Carrie Smith's journey is authentic and I think that she has a lot to teach. I do. But, you know, for me, again, like, no, people are saying Adam in the chat. Listen, Adam, I think, had an authentic journey. I think Adam is now trying to figure out how to cash in on that journey and is doing things that I wouldn't do. I think he's behaving really inauthentically in some ways. But that's his choice. But like people like that, it's like I've tried so hard to be authentic in this experience. And listen, man, if you think that ending up in the Libertarian Party is a way to cash in, let me tell you what, it is not a way to cash in at all. And it really pisses me off that people like this make it seem like everyone who leaves the left is doing it inauthentically, because I do genuinely believe that there are a lot of people out there that need this type of role model, that don't want to be on the left. They're like, this is all crazy, and they need people to look up to say, yes, you're not crazy, we all saw it too. But not everyone wants to be famous on the internet, you know? Anyway, people told me the pursuit of happiness meant doing whatever you wanted. Well, that is the pursuit of happiness. I'm sorry, I disagree with this. Like, you can be happy doing what you want. That is the pursuit of happiness. Well, I guess I don't disagree with this. I disagree with the rest of the paragraph. Objective truths were hidden from me growing up in a democratic family. Growing up liberal, growing up in a progressive environment, freedom meant you could thumb your nose at anyone trying to warn you to stop doing something that might harm you. It was pursuing your happiness, doing your own thing, no matter what that thing was. Okay, so, like, again, it's like he's trying to be, like, overly conservative in this. And I don't believe that people should be restricting themselves based on some feigned sense of morality. If that makes your life better, if it makes your life happier to do it, then fine. But the fact of the matter is that, like, there are so many different things you can do in life. There are very few universal rights and wrongs. Brandon says, do people crap on you because you refuse to toe the line when you see hypocrisy? Oh, dude, yes. Yes. All the time. Because the deal is, here is the deal when you're leaving the left. The deal that you make with the internet is, if you say their talking points, they will lift you up, they will share your stuff, they will fawn all over you. But the minute that you deviate from what the internet wants from you is the minute that they start to shit all over you. And it could even be just a little thing. If you want to be successful on the internet, like mega successful, in most cases, not all, because I would look at Tim Pool as someone who's bucked this. I think that Tim Pool is a relatively authentic person. But in many cases, if you want to be like mega successful doing this, you need to toe the line and tell people what they want to hear. Do you think Candace Owens ever goes off script? Do you think that Ben Shapiro ever goes off script? There are so many people that they never Brandon Tatum, script. They don't believe everything that they say. Well, maybe Ben Shapiro does. I think Ben Shapiro might actually believe everything he says. I do not believe that Candace Owens believes everything she says. I think that Candace Owens says whatever she needs to say in order to maintain her status and have her talk show and be on Fox News all the time. It is the deal you make when you sign up to do this. And some people can get away with not doing it. Again, I think that Tim Pool is actually a really authentic person. I think that Joe Rogan is an authentic person. I think that Glenn Beck says what he wants to say. I also think that Glenn Beck has more money than God. And it took him a long time to get to that place where he can probably say whatever he wants to say. But a lot of people are not authentic. It's just the way it is. It took me decades of being a proactive, engaged adult leader to figure out that that wasn't the case. I learned that our country was built upon people who didn't believe that you should do your own thing no matter what it was. I learned the founding fathers encouraged us to act in harmony with virtues and excellence of Aristotle and the morals of religion, specifically Christianity. Oh God, here we go. Here we go. Where it's all about, you have to be a Christian in order to be a good person. Now don't, no offense to Christians. I think that people should be able to believe whatever they want to believe. I don't really care what you worship. But to say that Christianity is the only way to live a happy and fulfilled life is just wrong. I'm sorry. There are millions of people all over the world that live a happy and fulfilled life that are not Christian. Christianity is great for some people. It is excellent for some people. If it works for you, more power to you. I hope you're happy. My dogs are going crazy. What the hell is going on downstairs? Do you guys hear my dogs? And my husband's just being like, shh. Like, my husband thinks, like, no offense, Victor, but my husband thinks that if he just goes shh to the dogs, they're going to stop barking. I'm like, throw something at the dogs. Anyway, I have no problem with Christians, but there are many other ways that you can live a happy and fulfilled life without being a Christian. It's just reality. I've always been on a trajectory of trying to find the truth. It has taken me a long time, and I have made bad decisions along the way. 3 years ago, I did some things I am no longer proud of. Things which disgust me today. The catch was, they were acceptable in the context of my belief system at the time. I used to believe that consent between and among all parties was enough. That is humanism, a belief system that says humans are born innately good, so whatever we desire must be perfectly acceptable. All desires are equally valid and moral. That means if you enter into a consensual relationship or a consensual engagement with somebody, then that's enough. And it contains all the justification that is your behavior. Okay, so is he basically trying to say that the things that he did with his girlfriend weren't good, like weren't consensual? Okay, I guess we'll find out. I mean, I have no problem with sexual deviancy. Like, I have no problem with that. Again, it's like, as long as everyone involved was consenting and everyone knew what the deal was, who cares? It's their sex life. It's not ours. If they want to film themselves doing God knows what and put it on the internet, it is a free country. No one is required to watch if they don't want to. Sadly, I saw things inserted in places that I never wanted to see, but okay, it happens. Now I recognize that consent is still required, but it's not enough. Consent is not enough to mediate society, because people can consent to terrible things. Yes, people can consent to terrible things. They can. That's what makes us adults. That's what makes us human beings. We are allowed to do things that aren't good for us. We are allowed to drink beer and do drugs and have sex and do all the things that aren't good for us. That's what freedom is. If you don't want to do those things, then don't do them. But here, I start to have a problem. I start to have a problem when people on the internet make it seem like their morals are the only things that matter. You don't get to dictate morals for other people. You don't get to. If I want to participate in a drunken, debaucherous, drug-induced orgy, then I am free to fucking do it. I don't want to start any rumors. That's not happening. I'm not nearly that exciting. But that's what living in a free society means. This does not make these things acceptable. Well, who's to say what's acceptable and what's not? I thought that, as long as I did what I wanted without causing direct damage to others, that it was okay. It was my life after all. But I learned consent, capitalized, cannot make bad into good, all by itself. After that realization, I began to explore what else needs to come along with that consent. If consent is not sufficient to determine good or bad, if consent is not the totality, then what is it? What about the common good? Well, that sounds a little communistic. If we're talking about you make decisions for the common good, that sounds a little Marxist. It does. What does the action you're consenting to mean for everyone else involved in other ways? Like your parents and your children. I'm sorry. I don't have kids. I'm a 40-year-old woman. I am not going to make decisions based on what my parents want me to do. That doesn't make any sense. I have long since passed the requirement of asking permission from my parents to do exactly what I want to fucking do. The common good is not to be enforced through law, but perhaps through social mediation, through cultural mediation, or the law of fashion and opinion. You should do what is good, so that our world is good for others. Again, that sounds really collectivist to me. It does. Brandon, thank you for the super chat. In your opinion as a psychologist, why do people jump from persona to persona seemingly without shame? This kind of thing seems like a character ploy. It's because he doesn't want to deal with his baggage. That's what it is. Jack Murphy doesn't want to deal with his own shit. He doesn't want to deal with his baggage. I think that Christianity, and again, this is no offense to Christians, I'm not making a comment on the practice of Christianity, but I do think that people use it as a crutch to not deal with their own shit. I don't think he's looking for new customers. I think that this is more about him not wanting to do the work on himself. He just wants to blame other people. And it's even in this letter so far, it's not like he's taking any responsibility for himself. He's just saying, oh, we need to be responsible to others. Well, no, I don't. No, I don't. The only person that you are responsible to is yourself. That's it. You're responsible to yourself and making yourself happy. And in order to do that, you're going to have to figure out how to navigate with other people. That's very true. But that doesn't mean you have an obligation to make decisions based on what's going to make someone else happy. You might make a decision to say, you know what, I want to be in this position here, and in order to do that, I need to please this person, so I'm going to make this person happy so I can get to where I want to go. But that is an inherently selfish decision. All right, then we stop for a quick YouTube break. Plugging his YouTube channel. What you always want to see in the midst of an apology letter is the plug of the YouTube channel. By the way, guys, please mount that like button if you haven't already. If you have not subscribed, I stream every day, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 5 p.m. We're changing it up a little bit this week. On Wednesday, we're going to be streaming at 8:30 because Josh Smith's schedule is different, but whatever. So if you want to catch up with my content on a regular basis, please make sure you are subscribed. I don't hate Jack Murphy. I don't hate him. He did block me on Twitter a while ago for telling him that it wasn't worse to be racist to a white person than it was to a black person. But I don't hate him. My connections over the last 3 years have led me through a cycle of awakening. With that came a rejection of humanistic, relative morality and an embrace of the objective good. Well, isn't that a little hubris to think that he is the sole holder of what the objective good should be? I've had an amazingly accelerated, dedicated, professionally tutored educational process that has brought me from one position 3 years ago of consent is all to a new position today where I reject some of the things I used to embrace. What have I found in this new way of thinking? There is virtue, specifically. These virtues contained within our definition of masculinity: to build, to create, to provide, to protect, to instruct. Men acting upon the world with the intent to make it better for all people. No man is a man who gathers power to himself solely to revel in his own power. No, you have to do it in a way that's virtuous and reflects the Aristotelian excellences. And that's why the second part of our vision of masculinity is to act with honor, courage, loyalty, and strength in every context, including sexuality. Oh, God. Here's my prediction. In less than 1 year time, we are going to find Jack Murphy in some drug-induced orgy. I'm throwing down right now. Jack Murphy is going to get caught in some sort of debaucherous scenario within a year. If he's coming out on the internet and saying, we have to be virtuous in sex, after he's obviously lived a lifetime of debaucherous behavior, and again, I'm not judging. I place no judgment on that at all. Do whatever you want. He's going to be caught up in some debaucherous situation within a year. I'm calling it now. Originally, masculinity. according to Aristotle, was about being a good man, to be part of the good polis that you create together, which is something I've talked about before. Then came Machiavelli, who said it was actually just about glory. Well, that's insufficient. And then Hobbes and Locke, who said masculinity is survival and property. Well, that's insufficient as well. And then you get to modern life, where identity is the only truth and masculinity is an angry rejection of postmodernity. No, masculinity is not just about tearing down the world just because you can, just because you want to exert your will. Well, when you're talking about behaving virtuously, you're kind of exerting your will on others by trying to enforce code of conduct behavior. Masculinity is actually a little bit of all these things combined into one. Being a good man to build and maintain the good polis for your people, achieving glory through moral means. Who's deciding morality exactly? Survival and protection of property in face of tyranny, anger at modern life and its threats to our family, and tearing down what is evil for the sake of rebuilding a good polis. Masculinity is all of these things. That's my current definition and working usage of the idea of masculinity. All this learning led me to found the Luminal Order. Not because I was a perfect man ready to teach others to be a perfect man, I was still deeply flawed. I carried shame and scars from my days where I believed in liberalism. So he's doing the thing that conservative influencers try to do, where they're like just painting everything liberal as like inherently bad when it's not. Nothing is inherently good or bad. It's just about how you apply it. You've seen some of my worst moments on the internet in the last couple of months. When they were still secrets, they drove me to pursue virtue in order to distance myself from this past version of me because I hated it so much. I wanted to teach other men to avoid the traps of hedonism I'd fallen into. Well, that's not true. If this was his goal, to teach other men to avoid these same traps, he would have been open and honest about his past. That wasn't the goal. Please, Jack Murphy wanted to make money. And I don't begrudge him that. Listen, with coaching programs and the Liminal Order, I equated to a coaching program. There's nothing wrong with doing coaching. I do coaching. I think there are a lot of wonderful coaches out there. I think that people can really benefit from working with coaches. I think people can benefit from being part of coaching communities. And some of the best coaches out there, and this is the God's honest truth, some of the best coaches out there are deeply broken people who are teaching other people the lessons they need to learn themselves. And they're wonderful coaches. They're wonderful coaches. They provide a great deal of value to the people that they are coaching and helping, and that's really all that matters at the end of the day. So I'm not saying that is anything wrong. Jack Murphy is probably a decent coach. From things that I've heard, there were people that really did gain benefit and value from being a part of his community. So if they're gaining value, then he's not a con man. I don't think he's a con man. People are calling him that. I don't believe that. If he is giving value to people, then he's not a con man. He's giving them value. They're paying him money. He's giving them value. But he's just not a perfect person. And we shouldn't be putting the requirement on anyone to be a perfect person. That's not the way life works, man. It's just not. But I don't believe for one red second that he was trying to teach other men to avoid his traps, because he didn't talk about his traps. If Jack Murphy had said to people, yo, I wrote some skanky stuff on the internet, and if you think I wrote skanky stuff, you should see the video. If he had said that before any of this stuff came out, then I would absolutely believe him when he says he wanted to teach other men to avoid what he'd fallen into. He never said that. Some have said that me running the Luminal Order is the height of hypocrisy. They mistakenly believe that I continue to do these actions up to the very day my sins came to light. They wonder how I could teach men to be men when I have done things that I have done, and the question rightly why I did not reveal myself to others and own my mistakes as I teach men to do. My biggest mistake was not coming clean about my past. Yes. Yes. Agree. I should have, so that it did not control me or threaten my work I do to help others. Because when my past was revealed, people believed I still did those things. And that made me angry. My anger at being revealed was really anger at myself for having ever believed as I did. I was ashamed, but in that moment, my anger turned inward at people who reveled or who revealed my sins when I felt I wasn't ready. I was wounded and I wanted the pain to stop. I don't think that's a bad paragraph. He should have led with that. He should have led with that from the very beginning. And to be honest, like, listen, the internet is not a place where you go to get grace. We all make mistakes in our past. We do stupid stuff. And I do wish that people would be more forgiving of this. Just because Jack Murphy has had sex in weird ways doesn't mean that I don't think that he's qualified to teach men how to embrace who they want to be. Those two things are different things. And I think it's perfectly valid to say, listen, I did some embarrassing shit. And I wasn't ready for the internet to see me with the thing inserted in the place. I wasn't ready for that. Listen, man, I relatively recently have had stuff revealed about me on the internet that, well taken out of context and not accurate in the way it was presented at all, was like embarrassing. It was. And so I understand that. I understand being I understand having things that you want kept private that make their way into the public eye and that make their way into the public eye in a way that you don't want them presented and is maybe not even true and accurate to what happened. So I totally get it. And I do wish that people would show a little bit more grace about that stuff, because guess what? Every single one of you has done weird stuff. If you don't want your weird stuff displayed all over the internet, then show a little bit of grace when someone else does. People have called me many things: hypocrite, grifter, FBI plant, spy ringleader. They've invented fanciful stories about my escapades. Some have used this as an excuse to tear down the work I've done helping men. All of this is my responsibility. In refusing to own my past, I opened the door for the most hostile actors with the worst imaginings. So today, I am owning my past. Criticism has fallen unfairly on my brothers in the liminal order. Men have been mocked for associating with me, and people have wondered what it means to be a member of the luminal order when the founder has secrets like these. People shouldn't have been mocking people in his group. That shouldn't have happened. I'm sorry. None of them were involved in any of this. I am not the man I should have been. But I am no longer the man I was. The Jack Murphy you've seen in gossipy articles died before anyone even heard of him. I should have been honest that he ever existed instead of covering him up. But I do not want him to detract from the work I started. Some of that work includes the liminal order. Men who join together under a banner of brotherhood in a world gone mad. And my work with them continues because it is far too important to be derailed by foolishness. Let me address the men of that group so the world knows the truth. The liminal order is not and has never been a Jack Murphy fan club. This is spelled out plainly in our initial contact page. It is not a group to celebrate myself. The liminal order is a network of men living out masculine virtues in a degenerate world. Some of the men who were raised with good values, who never strayed from the path, and who have come seeking others like themselves. And some like me who have dark secrets that they reject. They seek to become better men, perhaps to move from Democrat to deplorable like I did, or from consent to virtue. I don't see anything wrong with this, man. Now, I don't agree with Jack Murphy's definition of masculinity, but I also am not a man, and I'm also not going to pay to join his group. But I don't see anything wrong with men coming together to have a supportive community that shares their values. I mean, this is what we do in my locals. In my locals, we do exactly the same thing. We just do it in a different way. We come together as a community where we have a shared set of values. and a shared appreciation, and we create a supportive environment, and people pay to be a part of that. They don't pay as much as they pay Jack Murphy. Maybe I should charge more, but but it's the same thing. So I don't actually see anything wrong with this. The liminal order has 3 core values: masculinity, brotherhood, and sovereignty. None of which say Jack Murphy is God. No, it's not. It's about community service, loyalty to each other, and helping each other out. We help each other out when we're grieving. We help pay for funerals. We help men move their families out of violent zones into safe havens. We help men find jobs. We build businesses and institutions that reflect our values. We help men to be loving fathers for their children and stable husbands for their wives. We help each other do what men are supposed to do. There's nothing wrong with that. As for myself, and I actually, quite frankly, I feel bad. I feel bad for the men that were involved in this group, that were getting value out of this group, that then had all of that derailed by all of this bullshit. I do. I feel bad for them. If they were legitimately getting value out of this group, there might not be other places that they could go. No, Julius, I disagree. I'm sorry. You're saying the problem was he was lying and is still lying to milk his grift. None of that negates the value that his community was providing to the people in it. If the people in that community weren't getting value, they wouldn't be paying him. Your definition of value and their definition of value might be 2 different things. If he was giving them value, if he was doing all the things that he says, and again, from what I've heard, he actually was, to some extent. Maybe not to the full extent and not for everyone, but for some extent he was. And I think it's too bad. People can have multiple sides of themselves. They're not all good or not all bad. As for myself, I know I am not the perfect man. I never once said Jack Murphy possesses perfect masculinity. I have consistently and continuously taken guidance from philosophies, politics, and religion and sought to reflect on the ancient teachings and contextualize them for today. Any guru that tells you they've got news way of doing things is a liar. That is the truth, man. That is the truth. He is correct. Any guru that tells you they've got a new way of doing things is a liar. Absolutely. The only honest one is someone who helped remind you of what has already been established or decided or handed down over time. I am not Jack Murphy, creator of masculinity. I am Jack Murphy, learning masculinity for myself and teaching others as I go. The more I learn, the more I can teach. Yeah. I don't have any issue with that. I am a seeker, which by its very nature contains humility. I'm always looking for more answers and truth. And you can see that through everything I've done, I've ever written. If you've been listening to my podcast, you know I've always come with humility. I don't believe that Jack Murphy is very humble. I don't agree with that. You guys have, I'm sorry, Julius, you've got to get over this. If someone is providing you with value and you are paying that person a fee, that is an exchange of value. That's not grifting. It is not grifting to provide a service that some people will find value and some people will pay for. It's simply just not. That's being a service. It's being of service. And if he wasn't providing value on some level, then he wouldn't be making any money. Just because you wouldn't buy it doesn't mean that it's not that it's a grift. Sam says if it wasn't a grift, why not make the order free? Because it takes time. Listen, I've sold coaching programs like this. It takes time and it takes a lot of energy. For instance, Sam, you remember My Locals. My Locals is not free. Well, part of it is free. You can join it for free. But overall, My Locals is not like a free thing, right? To get all the good stuff, and you're a member of it. Why don't I just make Locals free? Because it takes my time to set it up. It takes my resources to set it up. It takes my energy to set it up. I'm putting value into it, hopefully providing value to other people. And those who find value in that will pay for it. And it's just a value exchange. That's all it is. Hang on, gotta blow my nose again. Sorry. Sinus infection, sorry. Heaven's Gate had great value and service. Well, yeah, it actually did for the people involved in it. Just because it's not valuable to you doesn't mean it's not valuable for other people. And if you guys want to get in the business of telling people what they should pay for and what they shouldn't, well, hang on to your hats. You just became an authoritarian. Why are you telling other people how to live their lives? Why are you telling other people what they should like? Why are you telling other people what they should spend their hard-earned money on and what they shouldn't spend their hard-earned money on? It's their money. It's their life. Yeah, Scientology is valuable for some people. Now, I think Scientology is a cult, but I also know people that Scientology is very valuable for. It's not my life. It's their life. If it provides value for them, then it is what it is. We have got to stop trying to control what other people say and do just because it's not something that we would say or do. Just because you wouldn't join the Luminal Order doesn't mean it's not perfect for someone else. I'm always asking people questions. I'm the student, they're the teacher. And if you need any evidence to the contrary that Jack Murphy says I'm the perfect Giga Chad meme and others have to do what I say, look at my history of work, and the work continues. One obvious example this year in the Luminal Order has been a philosophical analysis of masculinity as taught by Dr. Michael Millerman. He understands the philosophy of masculinity, so we learn from him. We're still learning what it means to be a man and how we do it together. So Jack, and I will confirm this, man. Again, Jack Murphy's not my favorite person in the world, but that dude has hustle. He works hard. He produced great podcasts. He was bringing in people for his community to hear from and learn from. No, again, I do not agree with this. Julius, you are trying to enforce your values on other people. It's like paying someone in counterfeit currency. He was selling a persona that wasn't his to sell, and since he's claiming to speak on behalf of men, all of us have the right to critique him. No, that's not what he's doing. You're being alarmist. Listen, I'm going to call out the bullshit where I see it. You are being alarmist, and you're trying to enforce your values on other people. If you don't want to pay Jack Murphy money, don't pay him money. I'm going to bet, Julius, that you never paid him money to begin with. So no, I mean, it's like not really your place to judge. It's not your thing. Let's move on. Wouldn't life be so much easier if people who are like, you know what, that's just not my thing, and they moved on to something else, and they moved on to find their thing, and they focused on their thing instead of trying to cancel the other thing that they didn't like? This is the entire basis of cancel culture right here. This is the entire basis of fucking cancel culture. If you don't like something, don't pay for it. Don't try to cancel it for everyone else. Just move on and find something else that you like. Or if you don't like a person, you don't have to be friends with that person. You don't have to follow that person's YouTube channel. You don't have to do anything for that person. You can move on and find other people you like. Instead of trying to cancel the person just because you don't like them, just move on and find something else that you like. Stop trying to force your will on other people. I considered stepping back when my past sins came to light. Should I shut it all down and go silent? If people believe I'm a hypocrite, should I back off so I don't damage the cause? Then I remembered I'm not the only podcaster who's faced the past being dredged up, with every regretful past thing they've done and had to come to terms with in public. I consider Joe Rogan, for example. Why do people listen to Joe Rogan? Is it because of his inappropriate jokes or even racist jokes and other things he said? No. People don't listen to him for that. Do they listen for him in spite of that? Yes. And Joe Rogan has talked about how he used to have liberal values, which really means hedonistic values, and he had to transition from leftist liberal to traditional values. No, Joe Rogan has not done that. That's not real. That's not real. And that results in behavior change. Dude, I'm sorry, Julius, you are full of shit. The entire internet tried to cancel Jack Murphy. That is just blatantly wrong, dude. No. That is blatantly wrong. The entire internet tried to fucking cancel Jack Murphy because Jack Murphy had sex in a way that you guys didn't approve of. That's bullshit. I'm sorry. Don't come at me with this. It's just accountability. That's exactly what a leftist would say. That is exact. If you don't like someone, just stop fucking following them. If you look at all the great conversation stories or conversion stories in history, they're only memorable because of how drastic the change was. I think about Saul converting into Paul, for example, from the New Testament. This is where he starts to lose me. He went from slaughtering Christians to writing a huge chunk of the Bible and correcting churches. Oh, thank God I have another bottle of water. This is not me placing myself on par with the greats of history. I don't expect anyone to say, oh, look, there's St. Paul, Joe Rogan, Jack Murphy. They're all the same. Definitely not. That's the opposite of virtue. The opposite of humility. Well, then you didn't really need that paragraph in there, Jack, did you? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Who didn't go through a slutty stage? And if I'm sorry, guys, if you've never been through the slutty stage, you missed out. There's lots of fun to be had in the slutty stage. You missed out. And you wouldn't want your slutty stage bared all over the fucking internet. But why do people listen to Joe Rogan consistently and relate to Paul's writings? It's not just because they're experts, it's because they were normal men with a normal perspective. They were humble because of their pasts. We see their painful past and the mistakes they've made and the men they become in spite of those pasts. And those conversion stories make their work more meaningful to us, not less meaningful. I agree with that. I agree with that perspective. That is the mistake I made. By hiding my sins, I made people believe what I taught was a lie. If I had revealed my foolish past earlier, people might have learned from my conversion story. Not because I'm on par with Joe Rogan and Paul, but because I'm a normal man who made bad decisions when he thought they were right. And now I see how wrong they were, and I can say from a place of authority, these things are wrong, and here is how I know. I mean, he's not wrong about that. Now, I don't actually agree with his perspective that the decisions he made were wrong. I don't think they were wrong. I think they were decisions. He got experiences from it. He maybe enjoyed those experiences at the time and now has looked back and has said, you know, taking it up the ass with a dildo was not maybe my best decision to do on the internet ever. That's life. We learn from experience. But I don't necessarily think they were wrong. Leftist liberal values, which are hedonistic values, tell us we can do whatever we want without consideration beyond consent. That is not the way to build a meaningful life. Well, I don't agree with that. Brandon says, my teens were legit. Glad social media was ancient. Dude, Brandon. If I had been on YouTube when I was in college, I can't even. I cannot even imagine what my reality would be like had I been on YouTube when I was in college. Okay. Apparently this is where he's going to convert to Christianity or something. This is not a way to build a meaningful life. We've all seen the extreme behavior liberal values can result in. The destruction of the family, creating generations of broken people who don't know how to love or be loved. Hang on. I agree that people not knowing how to be loved is a really big effing problem. It is. But that's not a liberal thing. I'm sorry. That is not a liberal value. There are many, 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 many conservatives who don't know how to love or be loved. There are many atheists that don't know how to love or be loved. There are many Christians who don't know how to love or be loved. There are people on all different belief systems, all different sides of the aisle that don't know how to love or be loved. That is not a conservative or a liberal thing. That is a human thing. drug epidemics claiming millions of lives, school kids having their nudes posted online and committing from embarrassment and bullying. And yes, people doing shameful things in their relationships and on the internet. People call me a hypocrite for not owning my mistakes. Well, I own them now. They've been revealed for the whole world to see, and there's no going back. Yes, lots of good liberal values that have nothing to do with. I would not go back if I could, because my path reveals that everything I've warned about is true. I've written countless emails, blog posts, and tweets, and recorded dozens of podcasts, and even wrote a book warning about the evils of liberal values. I told everyone who will listen that libertine beliefs and licentious actions will destroy individuals and, in turn, society. What I say now, people will know that I'm speaking from personal experience. I'm not saying it academically, theoretically, or rhetorically. These are raw memories of how leftist beliefs nearly destroyed me. They nearly ruined me again when I refused to own them. Their being revealed caused people to walk away from the truth I was trying to share. My story doesn't negate what I've taught, it proves it. I mean, again, I do think there is value in saying, I fucked up in life, I'm going to teach you from my mistakes. I mean, that's kind of like what being an adult is, right? God. How many 20-year-olds recently? Very recently. How many 20-year-olds recently have I tried to say, dude, I've been down the road that you're going and I know where it goes and you're not going to like where it goes and I'm trying to stop you from going down the road, but you seem determined to go down the road anyway. That's called being an adult. That's called growing up and having life experience. I think everyone does that. I don't think that has to do with being left or right. I think that it has to do with getting older. My own life is a study of what the truth of in the truth of what I teach. And it's time I embrace that so I can do more good than ever before. Because if I can prevent even one young man from following my path, if I can just help one man find virtue before he makes grievous mistakes that will haunt him, all the stupidity I embraced will be worth it. I place greater importance on the health of our society and of our people than on my own comfort. So if the truth can help save people, then I've let the truth be shouted from the rooftops. And I'm not starting from zero. My bad choices from 3 years ago have led me to 3 years of changes and improvements. I'm engaged to my longtime girlfriend, so we can get married and do things right. While so many people are shacking up and playing house, I'm putting action behind my values. How long has he been engaged? Now, I'm not trying to besmirch his relationship with his girlfriend. I'm just wondering how long he's been engaged. Because he's been with her obviously for a while. Like, she's the same woman that he did porn with on the internet, right? So this is where I start to be like, Jack Murphy, you're kind of not telling the truth. Because, like, isn't it the same woman? Isn't it the same woman that he did the porn with and he's only been engaged to her for a couple months? But he's been with her for years? I'm sorry, like, I mean, I married my husband within 6 months of meeting him. So, yeah, he's been with her 4 to 5 years. I'm sorry, Jack, you don't get a trophy for being engaged to someone you've been in a relationship with for 4 to 5 years. I'm sorry. That's just stupid. If you want to marry the girl, but don't expect a congratulations and a gold star just because you gave her an engagement ring. Come on. While so many people are shacking up and playing house, I'm putting action behind my values. That's not to say I'm better than others or that I'm a perfect example. It's me living what I teach. Then go down to the courthouse and get fucking married. Jesus Christ. As I learn more about the importance of accepting responsibility and the purpose of marriage in society, I change to embrace my duties. There is one change in 1,000 as I continue the transition from leftist values to traditional values. And one of the most traditional virtues is lifetime commitments and faithfulness, right? Maybe some people reading this are hiding secrets of their own. Their licentious past conflicts with who they want to be. I see a lot of people argue online about whether women can reform after 10 years of hookup culture. Can they really be a loving wife and mother? Or whether men can come back from various emasculating experiences to become honorable. Can they be respectable? Well, that whole paragraph is just stupid. I mean, it's like, do people really think that human beings are just the same throughout their entire lives? Are we really at a place where we're saying human beings can never grow and evolve, and that's the position of the internet? The internet is fucking stupid. God, never take advice from people on the internet, including myself, unless the advice resonates with you, and then you should totally take my advice. But as a general rule, I am here to say you can find redemption. Just because you were X in the past doesn't mean you will be X forever. You know, I think that's actually a really good message. Because legitimately, there are probably a lot of people who feel like, oh, I fucked up, I made these mistakes. How can I ever move on? There are probably people who need to hear that message. Oh, here we go. Christianity. Christianity morality has informed a large part of my quest for redemption and growth. A unique part of Christianity is redemption. We are redeemed, not by our own works, but by grace. And part of that grace is true repentance for what we've done and a heart desiring change. Listen, man, this is one of the reasons I don't like Christianity. Because, listen, I got in trouble for saying Hitler is in heaven. Now, I think Hitler's in heaven for two reasons. The first reason is I don't believe that hell exists. Hell is a man-made creation meant to control other men. And so if hell doesn't exist, then you can't go there. That's like saying that you can go to, like, I don't know, a land of rainbows and unicorns and waterfalls and fairies and Peter Pan and all that bullshit. You can't go there because it's not real. So that's number one reason why I think Hitler's in heaven. But the other reason I think that is because I think, and this is my belief system, not that it needs to work for any of you, but I think that God has unconditional love for us no matter how badly we behave in life. That there's a plan for life, that some people are meant to live lives that are easy and glorious and rich and have all the luxuries of the world, and some people are meant to live lives where they don't have much of anything and it's struggle and the pain is real. And I believe there are spiritual purposes for all of those things. And I believe that no matter what we do in life, in this human life, that God looks upon us as perfect, no matter what. And that unconditional love, that pure unconditional love, a love so beautiful that we can barely fathom it, it will always be there for us no matter what we do. We don't need to confess. We don't need to repent. We don't need to say, you know, I believe that you are the way, the truth, and the light, or any of those things. I believe we have all those things by virtue of being human. We are given all of those things by virtue of existing, because that's how great and beautiful God's unconditional love is. Unconditional is unfucking conditional. So that's one of my issues with Christianity is like requires conditions. I don't believe, and again, some of you might disagree, I don't believe that we need to meet conditions in order to be loved by God. I just don't. Brandon Russell says, internet's always right. How dare you? I know. I'm sorry. I apologize. I repent. I repent for my sins. All right. We're almost done. I'm going to make it. Yes, I repent for my sins from saying the internet is wrong. As I explore my faith, I am pressed to cultivate humanity, repentance, and a heart for change. And this experience has created more urgency for me to seek that redemption than ever before. I must become what I am called to be rather than what I am chosen to be in the past. What was old will now become new. And this is where he gets into some trouble. This part is a little problematic, as the kids say. Frankly, if it rejects the ability to be redeemed, they're rejecting Christian morality, but the American spirit as well. Okay, Jack, I'm sorry. That's not correct. That's not correct. The American spirit does not just live in Christianity, it lives in everything. That is not to say that I am synonymous with the Christian faith, or that I don't have to show my repentance and desire to change. I do, and that is on me. But those who would attack me from here on out, those who say there is no hope for a man to change, it is not me they are attacking. They are attacking Christian ideas and the American love for a comeback. And I will no longer respond to them. I will spend my effort changing and learning and being redeemed for the man I was when I didn't know better. Dude, come on. Come on. Jack, if you're putting yourself on the internet, people are going to attack you. I'm sorry, dude. You put out sex tape after sex tape doing God knows what on the internet. People are going to attack you. It is just the way it is. Welcome to the club. And they have a right to. People have a right to say whatever they want to say. But what I do appreciate is him saying that he's not going to respond to them. I think that that is the right thing to do. But to say that you can't criticize, if you criticize him, you're criticizing the American dream. Dude. I cannot be Jack Murphy, leader of perfect men who've never made mistakes. I am not the Giga Chad without need for redemption. I can't be that role model, and I never wanted to be. I will never be perfect, and after this revealing of my past, I can't even pretend to be, because there was never my role to play. This is a new phase of my life demands I become something else. So who am I now? Jack Murphy, a man who was once a libertine fool but embraced virtue. Jack Murphy, a seeker who will learn more about morality until the day I die. Jack Murphy, a companion for people who believe they're too broken to be redeemed. Jack Murphy, a living example of God's grace and the American spirit. That is who I am. I would like you to be a part of it. If you're holding things back, secrets you're afraid of would hurt you, I want you to know there's a way through the darkness. And if you want to be part of my journey, I'm glad to have you along. And if you're someone who's horrified by my past, let me say I share that horror. The man I was 3 years ago is not who I want to be. And I am doing everything I can to become the best man I can be. That includes learning from everyone who will teach me. If you're farther along in this journey than I am, I'd appreciate your insight and advice. I'm a student and I want to learn. Learning is how we become better. And if you don't want to be a part of my journey, that's fine too. Maybe you don't believe in redemption or you aren't interested in seeing a transition from humanism to objective good. Go ahead and unsubscribe. This is the road I'm on and I have to walk it. If our paths diverge here, I wish you the best. Now listen, I will say I agree with him on that point. Like, I absolutely agree. And this is a tactic I've taken with my own channel, my own community. Like, I've transitioned from being the Democrat that went to the Trump rally to doing stuff with like the walkaway and the MAGA movement to then becoming a libertarian. And when I became a libertarian, I knew damn well that I was going to lose a lot of my audience. But that was part of my path. And I kind of said, okay, well, if you don't want to follow me on this journey, you don't have to. But this is where I'm going because this is what makes most sense for me. And I don't want to be inauthentic on the internet. So I actually can get behind him on that. I agree with what he's saying there. Like, if you don't want to follow someone on their journey, just don't follow. Just, unsubscribe. It's not a big deal. And it's actually going to open him up to appealing to more people who are better suited for him. Brandon said, dude, I'm a Christian and he sounds like Christians who get triggered when someone disagrees with him. Well, no, you know what he sounds like? He sounds like a new Christian. He sounds like a Christian that has just found Christianity and is very excited about Christianity. That's what it is. I don't begrudge him that. We all need to be new at something sometimes, but this is like new Christian speak right here. Oh. Thank God we're almost done because I got to go take some cold medicine or something. The Jack Murphy of 3 years ago is dead. The Jack Murphy of 3 months ago is dead too. From here on out, I will be the Jack Murphy who acknowledges the past so I can encourage those in a painful past of their own. I will work to make the world better, as I was already doing, but this time without the shadow of regret hanging over me, and I will continue to shout for all the world to hear that there is real truth to be found in virtue, masculinity, and social responsibility. All right, Jack. All right. Well, my nose is really stuffed up. I'm really congested. I gotta wrap this up. Hang on one sec. We're gonna wrap up, but all right, I can breathe a little bit more for our final push here. All right, guys, that's the letter from Jack Murphy. So what I think is that, listen, I'm gonna give him more grace than a lot of people. I think that he's on a journey. And that's real. That's a real thing. I don't think Jack Murphy's learning process is done with this. I think that I've seen things that I agree with in this letter. I've seen things that tell me he waffles back and forth. I think that he hasn't truly figured it out yet. And I think that that's just part of life. But I don't want to take away what Jack Murphy is doing with this thing. Because if he is legitimately creating a community that is helpful and that feels like home to people that maybe have checkered pasts, and they're looking at him as someone who is like imperfect but is trying to be better, because I do believe on some level he's trying to be better, right? No, Julius, I didn't come around to your side. I didn't come around to your side at all. I do believe on some level he's trying to be better. But he's not perfect. He's a human being. And so I don't begrudge him doing this community thing. I hope that he's able to reach people that will be responsive to his message. And if that's what works for him, then more power to him. You know? Everyone has different people that we're inspired by and we're helped by. And I just don't want people to, if any of you are like Jack Murphy fans and you've made it this far in this video with me like coughing and, hacking and, throwing up a lung and all that stuff, like, I want you to know too, like, if you like Jack Murphy and you like what he's offering and his message resonates with you, don't allow anyone to tell you that that's wrong just because he has spicy stuff on the internet. Who really cares? Who really cares? All of us have done things that we don't want plastered all over the internet. Just the way it is. But guys, that's all I have because I'm about to start coughing again, but hang on. See, told ya. Oh yeah, I heard about that. Whatever. We're going to let them do what they do. We're going to do what we do, and that's just going to be okay. All right, guys, I got to go because I'm going to go hack up a lung and take some cold medicine. Thank you for spending some time with me when I'm not at my best today. I really do appreciate it. Now, I got to go rest up because in 2.5 hours, I'm coming back. Joshua and I are doing this show tonight, okay? We're doing our show. We're going to have fun. I'm going to go take a gallon of cold medicine. I'm gonna be primed for it. It's gonna be awesome. So I'll see you guys at 9:30 tonight if you're gonna come back for Nothing Remotely Controversial. Again, we got some good stuff coming up this week. Tomorrow at 8:30. I'm gonna do my 5 p.m. stream tomorrow, but at 8:30, we're gonna have a chat with Joshua Smith, and that's gonna be really great. On Thursday, we've got Fakeitarian John Hudak joining me, and on Friday, we've got our big all-day stream. We're going to be watching the shit show and glory and victory that was the Libertarian Party of Pennsylvania State Convention from this past weekend, and it's going to be awesome. And if you guys want to support the work I'm doing, please consider joining my locals. We have a local Zoom call tomorrow at noon, and I will not be talking all that much because my locals members do the talking because that's what a community Zoom is. We're a community. It is not a Karlin Borisenko fan club. It is a community of people coming together to be normal and to support each other and to fight back against woke insanity. And we're going to be doing that tomorrow at noon, so you have plenty of time to join. Head over to kb.locals.com/support. You can join for $5 a month. You can also join for $50 a year. You can also make a one-time gift. And I will see some of you on our local Zoom call tomorrow, but I will see many of you much sooner than that when we do Nothing Remotely Controversial later tonight. All right, guys, take care. I'm going to go get some medicine, and we'll see you soon.